What is happening? This is the OBR streaming network, and this is All Eyes on Cleveland. My name is Brad Ward. The man next to me is the one and only Big Casey Kinnamon, Case Dog, Super Berry Brothers Case tonight. Getting very creative, sir. You are.
Got to. It's the off season, man. And
Yes.
we've had a pretty eventful couple of days for it being a slow period, So
Yeah.
looking forward to talking about with you tonight.
Yeah, we've got news to talk about. We're going to dive right into it here. But if you're watching the show and you're a fan, and we appreciate you as you kind of file in here tonight, make sure you hit like and subscribe on the new YouTube channel. And make sure you hit that notification bell so you know every time that we go live. And if you're over on X, hop on over to the youtube.com/Orange and Brown Report. And that's where you can subscribe at the YouTube channel. So, I was just finalizing my bets for the NBA game finals, game 1 tonight.
You got some juicy ones? What you got going?
Oh, I got too much going. You know how I am. But that's cool. Big series starts tonight at 8:30, so we'll be getting out of here before that. I promise you that. So that'll be fun. Looking forward to it. And we can serve as kind of your pregame here tonight if you're a basketball fan. I know not a lot of you are basketball fans, but that's okay. Bradster and Case Dog, what up, Philly? Haven't seen you in a hot minute, sir. And that's cool. Dual extension Case is true. That's his suggestion for your name tonight. I like that from Fumble. All right, so let's get right to it. The extension has happened. We looked forward to this extension happening. Extended. So let's talk about what it means, Casey. You got Stefanski and Barry. I wrote an article on this. Listen, this signifies a very, important thing for this organization, right? It gives you some. It signifies a. I'm gonna do this one way, and then I'm gonna play devil's advocate with you. I think that's the best way to approach this. Okay, so it signifies a level or a place. Stability, as Fumble says, stability in the organization that has not been there since the 80s. The last coach to serve 5 seasons was Bill Belichick, 91 to 95. Yep. Before that, I don't know. So it really stands for, progress with the organization. And I think since these guys took over, you would be crazy to say that the organization has not made huge steps forward in progress. Now, well, I'm going to let you comment. What do you think about what I just said?
Well, it's true. I mean, if we're comparing what's going on since 99, Stefanski and Barry are in the league by themselves. The next closest coach was Crennel. He had 64 games. They've already won 13 more games than Crennel was able to win in that time span. So I think you got to go back to Belichick and Marty Schottenheimer to the last time they had this kind of stability. And Belichick had 82 games, and they've already won more than he has in 70. And then you look at Marty, who got 77 games, and they're 8 games behind him. So, and I think we still hold Marty in pretty high esteem for what that was, that block of games from 84 to 88. You were contenders. You won the division multiple times, made runs in the playoffs. So, I think that's a regime I could compare this to and be more apples to apples than anything that's happened since 99.
Agreed. I hold Marty in high standards or high, what's the word I'm looking for?
Regards.
High regard. Mm-hmm. And so it stands for all those things, right? And they're probably going to get paid. If you had to guess, how long do you think the extension is? I said 4 years, maybe 5.
I guessed 4. And I also, I started thinking about it, so say it is a 4-year extension. If you kind of extrapolate what's going on for 4 seasons, I think Stefanski would probably catch Blanton Collier as the second most successful coach in Browns history.
Wow.
Crazy to think about because he's already fifth. It's almost like Nick Chubb, though. You're amazing and you're setting all these marks, but then you look at Jim. Jim's so far up there. Well, Paul Brown is similar. Do you know what I mean? So it's. I think 4 years. I think that's what feels right to me.
Drew says 3. I don't see many 3-year coaching extensions. Do you? Maybe.
I mean, I'm trying to yank him for as long as I can, to be honest with you. But
yeah. So here's my. All right. So both these guys get the deal. The one thing that they've done, and I wrote about this, is they came in with this, together vision that we're going to do this in lockstep, and we're going to collaborate throughout this. And here's what we want to be on the front office side. We want to be about the work on the and everything else that Stefanski stands for on the field side or on the game side. And they've stuck to those principles all the way through, right? Like they really haven't changed principle wise. They've got better buy-in with each year. Now you have to recreate that buy-in every year, but like last year, we saw probably the best of the buy-in and the best of the culture that we've seen from these guys. So, they certainly deserve the extension. Here's I'm playing devil's advocate with you now, okay? Does an NFL extension when you have an owner like Jimmy Haslam mean anything for your job security?
Yes, because I'm judging on recent actions, man. If we judge Jimmy by his first 7 years, then no. But Jimmy's learned to shut the hell up and just be the pockets. Like he's learned his role. Like and it comes down to ego too, because it felt like when he came into the league, Jimmy Haslam wanted to be a Jerry Jones-esque type owner, be very front and center, be a loud voice in the operation, and and he's taken that step back, man. And maybe it was the lawsuit with the Flying J stuff where he realized he shouldn't be the face of anything right now, and he's playing the background. But for the past 4 years, man, Jimmy Haslam has not been an issue.
No, he hasn't. Now, there's a guy, I'll just say this. I put this in my article too. You can't ignore that there are guys all over the NFL, Spring League, Canadian football, guys just sitting at home, cashing checks from NFL ownership for years and years and years, because it's not related to the salary cap. It's not related to anything else. If they feel like they need to make a move, I mean, we see it happen all the time where a guy gets an extension and gets fired like a year later. So
the last guy who got an extension was Romeo Crennel, and he was fired the following season.
I mean, in the NFL in general.
Yeah.
Right? So that's my whole thing is, with this comes more expectation, which is fine.
Yeah, good.
They know that, right?
Yeah.
Good. But I just worry that Jimmy's pockets are so deep that if he felt like he needed to make a move, he would just make the move and eat the money.
Yeah, but what would drive him to feel like he needs to do that? Abject failure. Complete
failure.
Failure. And I think no matter what, it didn't happen in this season, because I really honestly believe what I'm about to say. The shift has happened to where in 23, if it would have went sideways and the narrative would have been Stefanski couldn't get Watson back up to par. Now I think if it goes sideways this year with Watson, Stefanski's still here and Watson's gone.
It's kind of that's where I wanted to get to. Yeah. And that's kind of what I'm saying is,
I don't think it's happening this year no more. I think the job they've done navigating, not just last year, which was insane, but think about this regime that came in during COVID and had to implement everything. The stability they've been able to build in the culture in the locker room, and just the fact that 3 other guys have interviewed out of their front office for other GM jobs. That doesn't happen to bad organizations. This is a well-run organization currently. And I just don't think there'd be, I'm a Browns fan, so I've seen the worst happen, but I don't see a scenario in which Jimmy pulls a trigger next year because they start 0-4 or something.
So I agree. But the talking point is always going to be, and there's no way around this. They are both attached to Deshaun Watson, right? Now, they are either way we cut it. They are linked to him. Now, here's the question though: have we reached a point? And for me, the answer is yes. We've reached the point. Have we reached a point where I value Stefanski over Watson? And we've reached that point for me and Barry. So I think that I don't know if the extension says this, but in general, I feel like they had to give him the extension because you can't send him in as lame duck. You just can't do that. That's a recipe for failure. If you send a coach in as a lame duck head coach with nothing at the end of the year, right? Hypothetically, though, just to play this game, say he was a free agent head coach, would he not be at the top of every list in the NFL?
Yeah. Especially for
would Andrew Barry not immediately get another GM job someplace else?
Yes. And his twin brother's about to.
He's highly thought of in NFL circles, right? So the thought that yes, they're linked to Watson, but I think we've reached a point here, to your point, where if you're the Browns and the Haslams, you have to choose Stefanski and Barry over Watson. If push comes to shove, and this year for some reason is a struggle because of Watson or whatever, or this is a down year or whatever, I don't think it will be, but if it was, are you okay? Are people going to be okay with them saying goodbye to Watson and keeping them? Because the national narrative is around Barry, and the national narrative is not usually correct, but I'm just saying what it is. The national narrative is, he's done a great job, except the $230 million guaranteed contract, which could end up looking like the worst trade in the history of football. So
he's the black mark on the ledger, on Barry's ledger. If you look at his ledger, that's the one thing that sticks out, and it's the one thing that isn't consistent with the way they've gone about every other thing they've done, was going all in on Watson the way that they did. But people always forget there was like 10 other teams bidding to do the same thing. The Browns just stepped up their offer and got it done. And I do agree, they are linked to Watson, but they're not married to Watson's success in the way that they were this time last year. Because of what transpired in the last year, they have earned the leeway, to if this does fail, it's not going to be, and it's just crazy how the narrative changes, because if Watson would have balled out right when he got here, the narrative would have been, it's not because Stefanski, it's because Watson's so talented. But now the inverse has happened, because no one wants to give Watson any credit. So if Watson balls out, they're going to say that it's Stefanski got this out of him, just because the way the narrative has shifted. Coach of the year, 2-time coach of the year, put some respect on his name. Narratives are crazy like that, man. But I just think bottom line is this: the ownership recognizes what's going on and what's going right, and there's so much more to achieve. So they haven't done anything, but they've raised the floor and they've gotten to this plateau. Now there's another step that needs to happen, and they'll be judged on whether they get there or they don't in the long run. But for right now, where they're at, man, this is a very stable franchise, and that sounds insane to say from where we've come from.
No, it does, and this certainly signifies that. And I, like I said, I've been Stefanski, like OG Philly said, Stefanski truther through and through. I think he's done an amazing job. I just, Haslam, and he's been better, to your point. The thing that concerns me is sometimes people get in his ear and, create these things, at least in the past. We've got all right, let's see what this guy's saying. Let's keep it real, fellas. All of you pack your bags and come to the dark side, Black. And I would rather, I don't know, do a lot of terrible things than become a Steelers fan. Double back. So Yeah, and in his comments, what does it say? Watson is nice. The Browns locker room just suck. It was kind of the opposite way around last year.
It's the locker room, sure.
False, sir. Your takes are false.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you listening to the show. So that's cool.
Well, for the first time in a long time, the locker room is not the issue.
Yeah, it's not.
You know what I mean? You said that 3 years ago. I wouldn't have anything for you. It's not where we're at now.
So it's a very interesting topic, and I'm gonna write about it. But yeah, I mean, because no matter what we say in Cleveland, people are gonna say, well, they're still linked to Watson. He hasn't even played more than 6 games in a season yet, so can they get success out of him? But here in Cleveland, well, the smart people here in Cleveland are going to say, look at what he has accomplished without him. Look at what he accomplished with 4 quarterbacks last year. Look at what he accomplished with Baker. Look at what he brought out of Jacoby Brissett. Look what he brought out of P.J. Walker. Look what the list goes on. Joe Flacco. He has elevated the quarterback play of everybody that's touched the football around him. And Barry has taken, created a system and planned out years in advance and manipulated the salary cap in a way that allows them to spend more than every other team in the NFL every year because of what the Haslams have allowed him to do. So that's kind of where we're at with that. So for what both of them have done together, it's amazing. I mean, they have gone in 25 years, 40 years, we're talking, they've achieved something that nobody could do, right? So, I feel like it's a big day, but I wanted to ask you that because the actual extension stands for something, and it stands for belief and stability and all those things, but it actually doesn't mean shit. On the actual piece of paper doesn't mean anything, right?
Like, because coaches, you said, they do get fired, and
if given reason,
collect salaries for years, and
yes,
not have coached it down. So, yeah, and that essence, I don't know, maybe it's just me not being able to step outside the box, but just when I look at those two individuals and what they've been able to accomplish. And, like Barry's at the forefront of like salary cap manipulation, roster construction. Like to me, man, he's definitely one of the brightest young GMs in the league.
He is.
He's still ascending. And their ability to work together, because they weren't hired in together. Stefanski was hired first, then Barry was brought back because he was here originally with Sashi. They work without ego. Maybe they have tips back and forth, but usually when you have a power dynamic where someone's getting credit, which we can say that because Stefanski's won 2 coaches of the year. So he's getting credit for what he does. There's no push and pull. And everything's been in lockstep. And you need to have that to happen. And as long as they can keep their egos out of it, man, and just keep searching for the best plan forward, I don't see why this has to end.
Yeah, I agree. So Kelly lays out the question better than kind of I have so far. So some opinions are that Watson move was Haslam. If it doesn't pan out, will Barry and Stefanski get the blame? I think that's what we're saying, Kelly, is that at this point, I don't think they would. And then we've got Larry with an interesting opinion. He's saying this is a false narrative with Haslam. If he would have stayed out of it truly, we would not be here today. Meaning we wouldn't have Watson? Is that what he's alluding to, I believe?
I'm not sure what he's alluding to with
maybe elaborate on that, Larry, because I'm interested to do you mean that we would not have Watson at quarterback or what? Because I don't know what that means. We wouldn't be here in a positive way or a negative way?
Oh, Haslam's played a hell of a role. He's the pockets.
He is.
And Jimmy's pockets run deep.
Absolutely.
The amount of cash that they're spending compared to every other franchise, it's you know what I mean? It's like $50 million more than the next closest franchise in cash. And that is what allows Barry to manipulate the cap. Like you need to have that. And you look, it's forward thinking. And as long as the salary cap keeps rising, you can keep this going. If for some reason the bottom were to fall out and the salary cap it goes down or stays stagnant, and then you run into issues, we're going to have to cut good players. But until then, they're keeping the cycle rolling, man. It's beyond my, like that's the reason like Jack Duffin is such a, like a pivotal piece, because he understands everything. And if you want to be in tune with what this looks like, not this year, but 3 years from now, talk to Jack Duffin. He'll let you know exactly how this machine keeps rolling on.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think I put an end to that nonsense in the chat. I hope.
You had some nonsense going on?
They cheated y'all. What you think? They kissed Brady's ass. Now it's Mahomes. I'm not sure what you're referencing there, brother. But
I want to bring up something interesting about Watson, though.
Please do.
Okay.
Please do.
So they restructured a lot of contracts this offseason, as they normally do. You'll notice one name's not on that list.
Yes.
And that's the guy who's making 63 and change this year.
Yes.
They could have lessened that, but it would have caused bigger hits down the line and more void years. They didn't touch that for a reason. They're leaving their options open. And why are they leaving their options open? Because now there's a precedent because of what the Denver Broncos did to get out of the Russell Wilson business. They ate $85 million to get out of that. And that head coach and that GM still have jobs, strangely enough. So, and that's over the course of 2 years. They ate that 85. I looked ahead on Over the Cap, which is a phenomenal resource. The post-1 June cut next year for Watson is 73.
Okay.
Not a death sentence. Not the death sentence you would think.
Is that more or less than Russ? I forget Russ's figure.
Russ gets 85.
Okay.
85 for 2 years was the dead cap on Russ. So it'd be there's a precedent. It's less than Russ.
Okay.
Obviously, that is not what they want to have happen. Obviously, the best possible scenario is Watson balls out, takes his team, deep runs into the playoffs, hoist a Lombardi. Like that's what they want to have happen. But if it goes the other way, it's not the death sentence that the national media wants to make it out to be.
No, it's not. At this point, it's not, right? We've come far enough that at this point, it's not. And you could, and if anybody could manage it, because you get your first round pick back, so there are some ways to maneuver around it. The biggest issue would be, how do you obtain another quarterback of starting
You got one right now in Jameis.
You have Jameis.
You have a superstar, but what have we seen with Stefanski? He doesn't need a superstar. Yes.
He needs I think the whole reason that the move was made for Watson was to increase your chances of winning the whole thing. And
it's not even just that. You get a franchise quarterback, and then you can spend less on certain things because he raises the elevation, so you don't need to invest so much in the wide receiver room and pay a running back $14 million a season. And that's things that a true franchise quarterback does for you, lessens the effect of other things, and that's just right now they're paying a ton for offensive line. They have a decent amount in their wide receiver core. I hope they add a little more and extend Amari Cooper now that this other extension's out of the way. But so that's the reason you want a franchise quarterback. Like, it makes the rest of your life easier.
It does. I said this was a question in the OBR Ask the Insiders. What if the Browns did move on from Watson? Mm-hmm. What would be the best avenue to gaining a quarterback of relevance? And I said it would have to be via trade, I think. Right?
Yeah, they don't come up in free agency unless you're taking a flyer on a former first-round pick who flamed out with the team. So then it's a reclamation project. You're not inheriting something that's already built. You're going to have to build it back up. But there are players out there with skill that can be done, but that's risky. That does not work very often, is what I would say. A trade would still be your best avenue. Or draft.
Reclamation project.
Or to hit on a draft.
Trade. Or hitting the draft, but you're probably not looking at having a super high draft pick, regardless of what happens with Watson. Yeah, better not, because then you're really testing that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
if you find yourself picking in the top 5, then heads might be more. There might be peril at that point.
Oh my God, I hate this. trolls, man. It's just so insane with me, this stuff.
I need to open up the chat and see what's popping.
Yeah, I mean, here, you want to see it? We're not seeing the big picture, brother.
You're not seeing the big picture, man. They got this weird complex of their big brother, but in the reality of the situation is, no, Big Ben was Big Brother. He kicked the shit out of us. Yeah, you take him out of the equation, the Browns win that all-time series.
He gone.
You're not Big Brother. He's gone. Your guy's gone. You no longer own shit. Like, you better thank God you have Tomlin's. What I would tell you.
Yeah. Yeah, Tomlin finds a way, but I mean, it's this Russ. If we're talking Steelers, Russ is a douchebag. He's gonna go in this locker room. You're gonna have huge issues because everybody's gonna love Fields and they're gonna hate Russ, and it's gonna be a disaster. I just don't know. I mean, if anybody can handle it, Tomlin can. But the dynamic, because of the kind of douchebag that Russ is, and the kind of antics that he's gonna pull, wanting his own office and his own people around, and doing calisthenics on the plane, and having people try to yell pass and run on the sideline like they're in Little League, all that stuff, and his corny fake speeches and all that is going to be problematic when you have a freaking alpha like Fields in there, who people are going to flock to, and they're going to see his big, athletic, young arm in better coaching situation. I like their hire at OC. I think that's going to be the issue for them. I mean, I could see week 5 them transitioning to Fields.
Yeah. I just don't know how long the hook's going to be, but they're not invested in them. So I don't think it'll play out too long if Russ is trash again. Just because, I mean, what's he getting paid? They're paying him like $1 million, $1.5 million. They fell ass backwards into,
two cheap quarterbacks.
Yep.
Sir, he keeps talking about some game, the game, Browns game, where I don't. First of all,
Johnson recovered a fumble, and the Sarah Thomas was a female ref, and she said it was the Redskins' ball. I remember that.
Yeah, I remember too. What do we think of that call? I don't think of anything. I don't think of it at all. That happened how many years ago?
That happened in 2016.
2016. Yeah, those days are long gone, brother. And
they don't live here anymore.
Yeah, they don't live here. Those are different times. So, Steelers are going to go 0-2. The Browns this year. I mean, they should have gone 0-2. The last 2 years, they squeaked out absurd victories. So.
I'm holding off dancing on their grave until that happens, but I feel like that this is it.
Yeah. So, but that's just
that's
where I'm at.
I saw they're going to test that going 800 shit this year. I saw their schedule. The back half of that is brutal.
See the big picture. Damn. I don't know what you're referencing, brother, but that's cool. We see the big picture. We're keeping a big picture here on All Eyes on Cleveland. Thanks for tuning in here guys tonight. Keep it locked on the OBR streaming network. Hit subscribe, tell a friend. Keep showing up here. All right, other things we got going on here. Besides the extension, which is awesome, and we kind of talked through the whole connection to Watson and what happens, which still could go right. This could go.
Best case scenario, we don't even.
Right.
It takes off, and they're scoring 29 points a game, and we don't have to worry about this conversation.
Yeah. Right. I don't know. See it. Yeah. The other thing I wanted to talk about was Nicholas Jamal Chubb. Appeared in front of the media. He had some interesting things to say. He gave his praise to the team, right?
Yep.
About the contract, which I was a little surprised at because, the contract is what it is. it never really crossed my mind that they would hang him out to dry, Casey. But his quote here is, yeah, I mean, definitely a blessing. They could have cut me dry and left me hanging, right? But they did a great job. I want to be here in Cleveland. They know that. Yep. So we came to a great point. So he was thankful of that. The other, quote of significance was that it's not the first time people have counted me out. And you love to hear Nicholas talking like that. That means that means hell to pay. So that's.
Well, we know there's no one working harder than Nick Chubb. He's definitely going to attack this rehab. If anything, they're going to have to save him from himself. He's going to do anything in his power to be game ready. He's also not a guy who talks. So when he does talk, there's some weight to the words. You pay more attention to him than you would a guy who goes in front of a mic every week. This dude talks maybe once, twice a year. So to hear his perspective on where he's at, and he's already been here before. I understand this. He came back from this injury before. He knows what it takes. Now, he was younger, so I'm sure his body responded a little quicker than it is this time around. But if I were going to bet on anyone coming back from this injury a second time, that's the guy I'm betting on.
Yeah. I mean, it's a tall order. He didn't make it sound. I don't know, Drew. That's a great question. I'm not sure what attracted all the Yinzers into the chat tonight, but they're here telling us we're going 0-2 to the Steelers, which is just to talk about the big picture.
Yeah, see you on November 12th, boys.
Yeah, see you then. But yeah, Nicholas speaking from the heart, he doesn't say much, said what was needed. Do you think, we've talked about this at length with Pete, and I'd be interested to hear what you guys in the chat think. Did you tell me that you think he's going to play week 1?
No. Look, do I think that he can get himself football ready by week 1? Probably. I just don't see them risking it with him. It's not about week 1. It's about December. You know what I mean? So I think I don't know if they would allow him. Now, I know that he has a lot of incentives tied up in playing, but I don't see this being about money. I think this is about legacy. This dude's special. And I don't see the need to rush him back. Now, look, man, if he's 1,000,000% ready and you have no doubts in your mind, yeah. And there is precedent. You look at what Adrian Peterson was able to do. Nick's a special runner, much like Adrian Peterson. So if for some medical miracle he's able to return to 100% by week 1, sure. The reality is he's probably going to be closer to 80 to 90.
I saw that, Drew. That's why I mentioned that. Jack made the post this week. He was throwing out guarantees about him week 1. Listen, I want him to be 100% when he comes back. So if that means you have to wait and operate by committee until then that's perfectly fine with me. You know what I mean? That's not. That's not.
Originally I thought pup 3-4 weeks inch him back, but he also, if you look at the schedule, man, you go back, you go home, away, home, and then 3 in a row on the road. Then you come home for that 3-game homestand: Bengals, Ravens, Chargers, 7-8 game 7, 8, 9. I think that's the target. Get him back for that homestand.
The homestand, the month at home, sleep in your own bed. Nick said the hit from Fitzpatrick was clean, as Brian's pointing out. That's not how I saw it. I didn't really see it as legitimately. Did he need to go low there? No. Do I think he meant to hurt him?
Gift out there of Minka whiffing on Chubb throughout his career.
Yeah.
Probably just to get him to the ground at all costs. Came at a shitty time. Nick would never say that. Even if Nick knew it was intentional, he wouldn't say that shit.
Yeah, that's what Jacob is saying here. Nick will always take the high road. That he is. And Brian says it too. He's a saint. He will never give anybody, bulletin board material or any kind of even if it was the dirtiest hit in football, he wouldn't say anything about it because that's just the kind of guy he is. You know, he's going to go about his business, keep rehabbing, and shut people up on the field. That's the Nick Chubb mantra, right? Like, you know, so and so it was good to hear from him though, and it was interesting. I get the feeling that he kind of wishes he was further along because they talked about. Did you hear Mary Kay talking about his movement? Like, it's been frustrating for him because he hasn't been able to run or move as much as he wanted to until recently. Yeah. Which makes me think, like you said, halfway through. Like, I don't want to push it at all. Make sure you're 100%. You know, don't want fans to be frustrated. Don't want him to be frustrated. Get all the way back. You know, and it probably, what does that look like, right? So to me, it looks like he becomes part of the committee before he becomes the man. Does that make sense? Like, he's not going to walk out one week and be the man again.
And 23 carries. And
right. Yeah. It's going to be like,
look, dude, this isn't, take Nick Chubb out of the equation. This is still an above average running back room.
Yes, I agree.
So I don't see the need to rush him back out there. And it actually just puts me back in mind of what his rookie year was because he didn't start till week 7. Still rushed for 996 yards.
Absurd.
You know what I mean? Like, so I don't see the need to rush him back out there. You might have to save him from himself. He's a competitor. But, like, I want Nick Chubb averaging 6.5 yards carry in December.
Yeah.
That's where my mind goes.
Yeah. Snap count, load management, I agree, says Drew. Yeah, so, I mean, you bring him back, you get him 5-6 carries, then maybe it's 10. You know what I mean? Ideally, though, for me, the only thing I care about in this is that end of season, the second time through the conference, when they're all on the road, because they got that weird thing where they're home for the first 3 conference games and away for the last 3, right? So the second time through the conference and down that stretch run there, you have him ideally, and I don't even know if this will come true, but like hopefully and ideally at that point, he's there to lean on in the fourth quarter. The hardest thing the Browns struggled with last year without Nick Chubb and when the running game kind of became inefficient. Yeah. You know, a lot of games last year kind of tricked you if you looked at the box score. You know, Joe Thomas talks about, you know, an efficient run game, or right, or is that what he says? Efficiency.
Yeah. I mean, like he didn't say his name out loud, but he's talking about Isaiah Crowell, where Crowell would rip these really big runs off,
50-yard run,
and have 2-yard gain after 2-yard gain, and at the end of the day, it says you average 6 yards, but in reality, you couldn't move the chains.
Exactly.
That one big first down, and other than that, it was a nothing burger in the run game, which was Nick Chubb. You know, you average over 5 yards a carry.
Yes.
Yeah, he'll have a big run every now and again, and a defense will get lucky and get him for, you know, a 1-2 yard gain every now and again. But he's led the league in explosive carries.
Yes.
Multiple times where he's constantly moving the sticks.
But last year you had, you know, periods of time, like long periods of times where Ford and Kareem, you know, as they tried to run to the edges more later in the season, if you notice, that was kind of a theme that they tried to, you know, the plays took too long to develop and they got caught in the backfield. And I love Jerome Ford, but
it was a bad recipe.
His vision could be better, and I think that's something he needs to improve on. But like, all of that stuff kind of led to what you were talking about here, is where they would break a big run every game, and the rest of the run game would be shit. And then you would look at the box score and say, oh, their efficiency's not bad. Well, in reality, it really was bad, and they didn't run for a lot. So you want Nick to be that closer. Him in the fourth quarter, like them putting away games using the run game, is a totally different ball game than what they were trying to end games last year with Flacco throwing screens and whatnot, right? So,
and that's just it, man. That's the most demoralizing play in football, is when you need 3 yards.
You know it's coming.
You know it's coming. They know it's coming. Everybody in the stands, Tony Romo, whoever, and you still get it. That's the most demoralizing thing you can have happen to a defense. and you get that with Nick Chubb.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's, if you can have that for that second half of the conference, that's ideal, right? So,
not just like Kansas City and Miami. You play some heavy hitters that down the back of that stretch. Nick Chubb would come in handy.
100%. So that was interesting. The other thing, something I wanted to ask tonight. So we heard this from, excuse me. I'm okay. Don't worry. I'm good. You're watching All Eyes on Cleveland here on the OBR streaming network. That's Casey Kinnamon, Big Case Dog. I'm Brad Ward. Thanks for tuning in. Keep it locked here on the OBR streaming network every night of the week. But you'll catch me on the React on Tuesdays at 7, and this show, All Eyes on Cleveland, every Thursday at 7. I wanted to ask you, Casey, about this supposed defensive shift in the front four. Have you heard this?
I didn't hear any of the specifics, but let's do it.
3-tech two 3-techs to 3-tech and shade nose, or 3-tech and nose. They want to make that shift this year. Here's my problem. Do you really have the personnel to do that?
Dalvin can shade.
Dalvin can, but he can't play who else?
Well, that's just it. No, Siaka, and I don't see it. So Dalvin.
So Dalvin, when you need to do that, and then I am not from Ashtabula, Larry. No. Shelby is. That's what I asked somebody today, and I was told not really.
I wouldn't do that.
I would not. I don't think it's really in his bag to do that. I mean, you could probably get him to do it in a pinch a little bit, but I don't think
that about all of them. But no, man.
There's no point in doing that if it's not effective. If he's not going to be effective in playing that role, so
you can't anchor against a guard and a center at the same time. That is a terrible place for you to get caught. That's what I'm going to tell you.
So I would think that if Dalvin's not out there, then you're going to see 3-tech and 3-tech again, right? Or whatever, 4-eye or however they.
Or is this behind the scenes some little seed they're laying about Siaka's maybe made that step that we don't know about? Because he's the only other person with the body type that could live in that area.
I just thought the whole thing was weird. Like, why would you even mention that?
I don't know.
Like,
that's the beauty though of this time of year is coordinators actually say shit that matters. Like during the season, it's mum's the word. You get nothing. But this time of year, man, they'll let some shit slip. They don't have another guy that can rotate with Dalvin in that role, in my opinion.
No, I mean neither.
In my opinion, he's the only guy I see on this roster that can man up right there.
Ika and Briggs could do it, but neither of those guys are going to make the roster.
Right?
That's my feeling on it. So that's why I questioned it when I heard that. It's like, okay, Dalvin, but after that, and he only played. I mean, the beauty of the 4-man rotation is that nobody has to take more than an X amount of snaps, and you stay fresh, and that's just the whole Schwartz way, right? You've got 4 guys that are all going to play snaps on the edge, and 4 guys that are all going to play snaps, and probably 5 this year. They're all going to play snaps on the interior.
So, what are the odds that yes, we see this front, but it's more used as one of their change-up pitches to create different alignments and create different mismatches, and that we do see it, but it's only in reserve situations because they have too many guys that can play 3-tech. They can rotate that effortlessly, keep guys fresh. But you can't play Tomlinson 85% of the time. No. So that can't be a full-time look, in my opinion. So I think that it might be something that they use as one of their change-ups.
Yeah, maybe it's something, one of the new things they're doing.
Being multiple with your looks, and maybe it's a good way to rush 5, where you kick him down inside, and you let all of a sudden you bring Za'Darius at a 4-eye, and then you leave Ogbo out there on the edge.
Yeah, absolutely.
something like that.
Brian with a comment here. We were held together with backups and their backups last year on the line, running backs and quarterbacks. Odds are that won't happen again. I would agree.
Everyone find a piece of wood.
Yeah, for the knock on something, right? And for the most part, the only reason I hesitate to say anything is because the Ravens had, 3 years in a row where they got the injury bug worse than, anybody in the league. And it was, 3 years straight. To the point where they were, looking at, we need to look at who we have hired in our health science department here, right? Yeah. So, that scares me because it's so random. There's no rhyme or reason to it, really. It's so random, and people are going to get hurt in the NFL. The reason I feel confident, to Brian's point, is that if you look at this roster, you can survive some injuries and be fine. Me and Pete were talking the other night. I can't wait for the preseason this year just to see some of the guys that I want to see that I think are talented.
Yeah, who won't sniff it during the regular season.
Right. I want to see Cam Mitchell. I want to see Miles Harden. I want to see these guys. Yeah. I want to see all the wide receivers play beyond, the top three and see what – hearing good things out about Tillman from camp. He looks very fast, big, strong.
My thing with that, though, is none of that was my concern. My concern with Cedric Tillman's none of it's physical. It's all up here.
It's all up here.
That's my only yes, great. I'm glad you're taking it serious. And, so I thought about this earlier, and I'm going to put it to you. If Cedric Tillman had a similar trajectory to DPJ, would you consider that sufficient?
Yeah.
I think that's within the realm of possibilities.
Because you already have 3 guys there. So the path to 1,000 yards does not exist for Cedric Tillman unless there's massive injuries, knock on something. But but the path to 400 or 300 or whatever and 4 touchdowns and some significant big time plays is there. And then that leads to, if you go back and look at DPJ's career with the Browns, it was 3, 6, 9. It was year one, 300 more yards each year that he played. He was on that even trajectory of just being better each year. So yeah, and no doubt. This is the point too. The Tillman
DPJ was a better athlete, which is crazy. He's a 6th-round pick. The former 5-star guy. Tillman kind of slipped through the cracks at Bishop Gorman in Vegas and somehow ended up at Tennessee. But yes, I don't know about much. See, I don't know if the path's there for much, at least this year.
I think Tillman has more bursts, is more explosive than DPJ was.
Neither of them are quick twitch guys, though. That's not their calling.
No. But I think he has a little more. DPJ got kind of slow in his route running. I think Tillman will probably be a more polished receiver maybe than DPJ. DPJ won at the catch point. Literally, that's it.
But you need that. You need to have it.
You need it. Yeah. But I think Tillman can be better than that. I agree with the chat that I think Tillman's ceiling is higher than DPJ's.
Yeah, but just because of the DPJ had less obstacles to get to that point, do you know what I'm saying? To get on the field and play that kind of snap count. You got to think, man, year 2 of DPJ, everyone got hurt but him, and he was the guy that was out there. I don't see that kind of the opportunity to be there for Tillman this year.
Yeah.
It could be more
I agree. The opportunity isn't there. And it's why, I talked about Renfro. It makes no sense to bring anybody else onto this roster. You want one of your young receivers to earn that spot. Because the 4th spot, listen, this isn't breaking news, but you're not going to go an entire season without any injuries at wide receiver. And to be honest, as unlucky as the Browns have been, with
good at wide receiver,
injuries
yeah.
that test you. At wide receiver, they've been super lucky, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like Cooper's played every week for the most part. Moore was there the year before that. They didn't have any injuries at wide receiver because they were really thin there, and they never had to get into their depth, so it never showed. So they've actually been very healthy at wide receiver for the most part. So once again, I mean, I hate talking about injuries like this,
I know,
but
I
I know. I'm
We're
bulky.
going to replay this back, and we're going, we did all this.
Don't jinx it. I know. That's
I know.
exactly what was
I know,
going
dude.
through my
Keep
head
going,
as I
man.
said it.
Believe me, I live in that world.
But yeah, I think that you want these guys to step into the role. So like, the choice route stuff and all the conversation about that,
I
that
think that's another obstacle for him.
that's an obstacle for Tillman because we saw him struggle with it in the past, and or with making instantaneous decisions that are on the same page as your quarterback,
seeing
right?
the defense the same way, recognizing coverage, understanding leverage where you need to be, keeping a route skinny when it instead of flattening it out. But like, it's a steep learning curve for a rookie wide receiver. Especially when you come from Tennessee and you ran like three routes, and they kept your ass, like they were literally lining up right off the sidelines. Like it's a highly explosive college offense, but that system doesn't translate. So he has to relearn everything. Now his dad was an NFL wide receiver, so I would hope he has that resource to lean on.
New favorite guy. Since been
famous last words right there.
Since been my favorite guy. Where you been? No, I'm just kidding. What's up, Rusty? So that is going to be a hurdle for him because, did you hear Doris talk the other day?
Yeah.
Doris was.
This time of year, I actually pay super attention to coordinators. You actually get little nuggets that
they
actually
say,
matter.
Pay attention. You say little things. I actually think the guy that will have the best grasp of the younger guys of this kind of stuff with the choice routes and the option, whatever you want to call it. The choice routes is the the word. So I hate using it because it acts like it's something brand new to the NFL, which has actually been around for years and years and years.
Here's how I refer to it: they're baked-in coverage beaters to the offense.
Yeah.
They're just baked in to your route. It's part of the deal.
It gives the wide receiver more freedom within the bounds of your quarterback and your wide receiver see it the same way.
Yep.
If they're seeing it the same way, it can work great, right? Like it gives you other options at the line of scrimmage.
This last offseason, and you saw that Allen threw a ton of interceptions early in the season.
Not
they
on
weren't on the same page, and he was seeing shit they weren't seeing. And this is something we don't talk about too: is defensive secondaries that are good at disguising coverage. That is a problem when you're doing choice routes if they're really adept at disguising coverage.
I was going to say Thrash. Jamari Thrash is a guy I think who will be able to grasp that and excel at it. The guy who I really think could be really good with this stuff.
David Bell.
Nope.
David Bell.
No.
He's gonna get it.
Okay. I know that's your boy.
It's not my boy, dude.
That's your boy.
He's the most limited receiver on the roster. He's smart and heady, dude. That's his game. His game's cerebral, understanding the holes in coverage, and like that's how he has to survive. He can't survive off athletic gifts.
Yeah, Brian, I agree. Coop will be good. Coop's gonna be fine with it.
He's been a two-way go guy his whole life.
Yeah, he gets it. He's done it all. So the guy who I think is going to excel, and I think Jerry will be great too. I don't think Jerry will have a problem with it, but I think Elijah Moore is going to be spectacular.
Let's talk about that. So we talk about these young guys needing opportunities. So that I don't know if there's a path. Okay, say Brad's correct, and say Coop gets that extension. Say that happens. I think that's non-existent that Elijah Moore's here next year. So
I think you're wrong.
Huh?
I think you're wrong.
You think they can get all three and throttle down all their youngins? I don't know, man.
What? I mean, he is young.
Yeah, but he's not like okay.
He's not on a rookie deal.
Yeah, no, he is. But if he balls out, he's going to get paid. He's going to be one of those 14, $15 million a year guys if he balls out this year in a contract year. Do you think there's room for that when you've already paid Judy to be number 2, where you've extended? We're living in the world where they extend Cooper. That's my preface. If Cooper's not extended, then yes.
I think Coop's going to get extended before the year even starts.
Yeah, I think in July, he's not going to be at training camp one day. They're going to be like, Cooper's absent from training camp. It's going to be because he's inside signing some stuff.
Yeah.
And then it comes out and but I think that even the best is probably a 2-year extension. He's going into year 30. You fall off a cliff, 31, 32. I think natural progression.
His deal is going to be like, okay, he's already signed for it's going to include this year. It's just going to be guaranteed money. Mm-hmm. And then you're going to push some guaranteed money into a second year and probably have a third year and some void years on it or whatever they want to do. Yeah. But you're going to have an out after 2025.
Yeah. I agree.
Because you don't want to make a commitment to him into his mid-30s or even early 30s, really. Like 2 years is perfect, right? But like if that's the case, I don't know. I think this year will tell us the story we need to know. I just would hate to see.
We're talking hypotheticals.
I would hate to see Elijah Moore ball out and us be like, well, we can't keep him because we got to let one of these younger guys come in and do it.
They already invested their number 2 money in Judy.
When Cooper's only going to be here till 25 anyways.
Mm-hmm.
And Elijah Moore's what, like 23, 2?
No, he's older than that. He's probably 25.
Get out of here.
Yeah, man. This is his 4th year in the league.
Okay.
Coming at 20,
okay,
20,
yeah. Oh, you're right.
Old.
Yeah, he might be 25. Yeah, it was bad estimate. Bad math.
Is still young, which is still 5 years of your prime in front of you. Yeah. So whoever inks him to the next deal will get his prime, which is the whole goal, especially at skill groups, to lock people down through their primes. I just don't know if they can pay Judy what they're paying him to be a number 2 and then do the same thing with Moore.
Which is going to look like a bargain.
Oh, it already does. Look what's happening. That market has gone apeshit.
No, he reset the market yesterday. Or was that yesterday?
It was either yesterday or the day before, yeah.
Yeah, he totally reset the wide receiver market. It already looks like a bargain. You know, and you look at guys like...
That's why you pay him early.
Right. And somebody was talking about Keenan Allen, who's like on like a 15... Maybe it wasn't him, but somebody like that, right? Who's like on a $15 million deal. Like, that looks absurd now. You just gave somebody $35 million a year at a non-quarterback position.
Yep. Making more than a ton of quarterbacks.
That's crazy, dude. That's crazy.
And now Chase... when the pendulum swings back the other way. But right now, wide receiver is that position. And especially look at the crop of guys that are about to get paid. Like the last person who wanted to see that Jefferson deal was Mike Brown. No, and he's got Jamar Chase on deck. Like, what do you think he wants, bub?
Yeah, he wants $1 more, homie. I mean, he's going to get it.
The price went up, guys. I don't know what to tell you.
I mean, he's already screwed on Higgins. So, you know.
Facts.
Larry, I'm sorry to hear that you're in the Cleveland Clinic in Ashtabula. I hope you feel better, brother. But I'm glad you're watching, and I appreciate your contribution to the show, as always.
Side note, if you had been from Ashtabula and you're like, yeah, I'm from Ashtabula, I'd start calling you Ashy Brad. That'd have been my move.
Yeah. I'm in Cuyahoga Falls, Akron, Northeast Ohio area, 330. Yeah. AK Rowdy, Northside Summit County.
Thought you were about to drop a diss track right there. I don't know where I was going.
Yeah. Kind of hope Russ doesn't get benched until we play Pittsburgh. Then Judy goes off for 150. We got people from Ashtabula.
Yeah.
they will have like $90 million tied up in 2 players.
Are we talking about Cincy? Between Burrow
Yeah.
and Chase?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Prayer, MC, good job. Prayers, Larry. Hope you feel better, man, and thanks for watching for sure. He said he's on his way to recovery. Well, we'll have a good thought for you, brother, for sure, and the whole whole OBR community will, for sure. So we're with you, man. Hope you feel better and get home soon. Drew's sending positive vibes as well. Yes, go Larry. Yeah. All right. Good stuff. All right. We got time still. What else do we want to hit on here? So okay, so back to the defense. And a little more on Vrabel. There was a video that caught Vrabel. Did you see the one where he was talking to the linebackers about being in the red zone?
No.
He was coaching them up. Anyways, it was like perfectly clear video. You could hear everything he was saying, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is it's so good." You could hear him like actually. He was coaching the scout team defense or whatever, and he was coaching them up and talking. And I'm like, okay, him and Schwartz has been talking about, the change ups and all this stuff. Like, dude, to have Vrabel at your disposal, you gotta use him, right?
I'm just over the moon with it. I smile every time I think of Vrabel. I
know.
Smile. Well,
It's
when we
incredible.
first got told he was going to be a consultant, we didn't know what that was going to mean. Like how
I didn't think it meant he was going to be on the field.
Job where he just a consultant with game film. No, man, he's all over he was with the offensive line yesterday. Like he is all over the place. He's on the scout team. He was running Mike. Like I don't know. You don't get worse from having guys like this around your people. And if you're like Bookie Watson, to be able to have that guy, you're trying to make this transition from college to be a Sam, backer in the NFL, and you can bang ideas off Vrabel and get wisdom from him. That is invaluable. Like it's every part of it, dude. Like, and just the fact that this doesn't happen to bad teams. We were talking about earlier. Like, you don't see people from your front office get interviewed for GMs if you're from a bad franchise. Well, if you're a bad franchise, one of the better NFL head coaches doesn't come to you to use you as a launch pad to whatever's next. Like that just doesn't happen. So he's here for a reason. It's intentional. You couldn't have a better resource, a sounding board, not just for Schwartz or Stefanski. Everybody is going to benefit from Mike Vrabel being there. And the smack talk's going to be better from the defense from having that guy in the meeting rooms.
Yeah. I mean, you saw the McAfee clip. I'm sure you've seen it by now where he talks about, but I mean, it's gold, man. Like you could not ask for a better resource on every level. Bubba Ventrone was on CBD talking about how he was helping him with the kickoff. He's with the offensive line. He's running scout team defense.
He can't help himself.
Dude, I thought that he was going to have I did not expect him to be like talking with players. It felt like it was going to be like, okay, Stefanski's going to, they have the new offense. He can provide you, what would you do here? What do you have issues with in this offense that we're looking to do? What, as a defensive coach, he has that resource to bounce ideas off of. How would you guard this? How's the defense going to react when we do this, when we do that? Which is amazing, and I'm sure they're still doing that. But the fact that he's out on the field, engaging with players, coaching, I mean, it's incredible. It's incredible. I watched Vrabel play. My dad, My dad took me to watch Vrabel play high school basketball at Walsh Jesuit, which is in Cuyahoga Falls, where I'm from. When he was there, yeah. So I remember watching him play high school basketball, and he went to Ohio State. Now he's here at Browns, man. So local boy. So. But yeah, I wanted to get this clip. I'm trying to get it sent over here to my computer because it's crazy intriguing to watch him coach like that, and I'm just through the roof thrilled with the engagement from him. Right, like it's just amazing.
So also, because I'm surprised he wasn't an automatic hire for a team. But if you're going to take an off year, because if you get caught too relaxed, if you're a coach and you pull yourself out of the game, some aspects of the game can pass you by. You know how they can't when you don't leave it, when he's still engaged, still involved, going to be, and you're at the cutting edge. You're at a team who pushes boundaries on, and to learn all the front office stuff off Andrew Berry, like that's a win-win for both parties, man. I'm
It
ecstatic for this
is.
year, dude.
It is. The key though for him, like Schwartz, he's probably going to get a head coaching job next year. If not,
Yeah.
people are insane. But staying close to the game and being part of it just will make him that much better of a candidate. I mean, think about to the point of listening to Schwartz the other day talk about throwing out 20%, right? Just because 20% of what they did isn't going to work anymore this year, and that they have to go through that process like every season. Like, think about missing just one season in the NFL and how much changes, copycat, this, that, the other, the shifts in trends and everything. Like, you'd be behind if you weren't in it.
Yeah. You see that with coaches who go to the booth and then come back, and it's not the same. You're seeing Sean Payton struggle right now in Denver. I remember Gruden did the same. If you leave the game for too long, it will pass you by.
Yeah, it's wild. Let me see if I can bring this up now. It's worth watching. If we can get it. If we can get it. Where you at, Vrabes? Here he is. All right. We ready for this?
Never been ready for anything more in my life.
All right, I gotta turn up the volume. Get down, man. Get up there.
And that breaks my heart too, man. That's a guy rocking 59 that ain't gonna make this team. It hurts my feelings.
It's crazy. So he starts talking to him, right? And he's like, you guys got to get up here. We're in the red zone. Tighten it up. We're in the red zone. And then, so then you start to see some of what the Browns are going to do, I'm assuming, but you see the shift and how it affects the defense. Because immediately, the corner, now remember, these are scout team guys and they're just picking up the whole scheme from the defense, a lot of these guys. But the corner has no idea what he's doing. As you'll see him stop behind Vrabel, and then he figures it out. But then he's back talking to the linebacker, and he's like, you got to get up here, right? Like, you got to get up here, because they shifted the wide receiver over. You don't even notice it because it wasn't motion, it was a shift, right? Motion adjacent. But that's how... Part of what I think what the Browns really want to achieve here is getting cheap yardage. Like, let's make it easier. Let's make sure we're getting cheap, easy yardage when we can. Like, they've had issues with that in the past, right? Where some teams can just get short, cheap, easy stuff by manipulating formations and leverage pre-snap, or, a blown coverage here or there because they confused you. I'm not saying the Browns haven't done that, but I think that they realize that there are opportunities to do that with guys like Nyheim Hines in the flat. We've got to cover this, that, the other. Let's give it to Hines in the flat, and he walks up the field for 6 yards. Like, those type of things should be available in an offense like this, right? And you'll see some, maybe like a little variation of something to that effect here. But I'm going to play it again. What were you going to say?
Well, what it brings to my mind is some motion package we saw earlier. Jamari Thrash comes across formation, runs a reverse orbit to the quarterback, and then back to the flats. Now, you might not even throw to that guy in the flats, but it's there and it's on tape, and that freezes safeties, that freezes linebackers, and then it can be there for you in a pinch. You know what I mean? So that's just trying to manufacture those cheap and easy yards.
Yeah, and for teams like the Browns, who are in man more than most teams, you're giving away a lot, which is probably why they had a lot of problems with teams that utilize motion more, right? You know what I mean?
Motion and rub routes and
Rub routes and shallow crosses and yeah. So that's what the change-ups are supposed to take care of, right? That's what needs to be shored up. But it's once again, we'll listen to Vrabel. It's very cool. You can hear the audio excellent here, him talking about getting up and then taking them through the play. So we'll play it one more time because it's quite intriguing. What he says, if they're 3-by-1, you've got the 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so motion, they shifted down. Here comes the shift, right? Get down. He says, good, you got him.
Yeah, but he got there late. And I'll say this, man, like, yes, these guys are on scout team and they're just there to provide a look, but this is also an opportunity for those guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I would hold close to anything Mike Vrabel tells you and execute it to the best of your abilities. But you saw the confusion. You saw 49, switch over late. Like, it's a little confusing for these guys.
Yeah, it is. And he's trying to talk them through it. So the best part is he's like, you got to tighten down, but there is confusion created here as you get a little shift. I think that's considered a shift, not motion there, what he did, right?
I can see that motion.
So, and then you'll see the corner come across and stop and then go left. So I'm assuming they're in a 3-by-1 here. Maybe not. You can't see the whole field, but just, the whole...
We need the all 22 of practice. Is what we
practice, need. Yeah. But it's not even about that even as much as it is just enjoyable to listen to Vrabel.
The details,
coach these guys up.
I mean, this is what he made his bread and butter, was playing linebacker, so he's full of knowledge and wisdom. And I also wonder what kind of leeway he has. Say if he just, all of a sudden he's talking to your linebackers, if you're Tarver, you'd probably just let him cook, right? So let's kind of give Vrabel a wide berth and kind of let him meander whatever part of the field he wants and impart knowledge on people.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would assume, he knows Schwartz's scheme.
Yeah.
So I pretty much would say that he has free reign within the bounds of making, philosophy, changes in philosophy, the actual coaching, I would say they pretty much just let him go, right?
Well, and I'm just pumped because I didn't think we'd see this. I didn't think we'd see him on the field in practice.
Me neither, brother.
You know what I mean? Honestly, I thought it was going to be a consulting role. They'd have advanced scouting, like you said, as a sounding board in meeting rooms maybe, but he's the coach. He can't help himself, dude.
It's good shit, man.
I mean, that's what he's doing. Love it.
It's really good stuff. One more time. Interesting stuff. All of it, really, like what they're working on offense, Vrabel's component in it all. So, but it makes you feel hella good about this situation. So next week, we've got mandatory minicamp, 3 days, full squad. You'll get Coop, Miles, everybody here, right? And then they'll be out for 6 weeks. What do you think about the NFLPA's proposal to do away with OTAs and go straight training camp in late June or whatever it is?
For like an 11-week training camp. That is insane to me, man. I can't believe it's the NFLPA that came up with it.
It's the Players Association.
It's insane to me. It's insane. There's no way that's going to float, man. Like, I can't. We talked about it on Barking Browns, and one of the first things. Think how many more fights they're going to be when these dudes are stuck in training camp for that long. It's unnecessary.
I guess Pete made a good point. It does give you more time off. Like, not more in total, but consecutively.
Yeah.
Which for a player, a lot
just
may
to get out of a mandatory week of training camp.
Well, that's my thing. Like, if you're a veteran, that's why like different levels of players are going to feel differently about this.
Yeah.
If you're a veteran who doesn't go to OTAs or need to show up to make a team, keep it how it is. I got to show up for 3 days.
As opposed to being there starting. Look, man, it's long as not. This is a grind. When they report July 20th, that is crazy long, considering they won't play a game until September. You're going to extend that by a month, by 4 extra weeks, like. And I've heard like, well, they're going to ramp up slowly, and it'll be a lot of shirts.
Doesn't matter.
They'll still have padded practices, limited. That time, dude. Like, I don't know if I'm an NFL player, man. Like, I'm not trying to report in June. We for real doing this? Like,
and
to me, man.
To get it done,
the upside, because I immediately think of the players. I'm not seeing the upside for the players.
And to get it done, Casey, probably that's their bargaining chip they'll have to use when they go to 18 games. Okay, you want us to go to 18 games? Well, this is what we want. Why would it be that? Bargain for something that matters more than that, because that seems like a bad hill to die on if you're a player. Because, listen, Larry says, married players hate it. I don't know which one they would hate. It depends on what kind of relationship you have, I suppose. True. But or what kind of marriage you have. So, but I get it that the time off from the end of the season till June would be appealing for a young player if you have to be at minicamp anyways. But if you're a veteran, this seems like a nightmare, right? Because, and for a coach, I think they would hate this. Because they want, and the NFL doesn't like it either, because the NFL right now has it scheduled perfectly where they can go year-round the schedule. We got you every step of the way. You're locked in on the NFL. If you cut out this portion of OTAs and the attention that it gets from fans who are starving for football right now, then it's dead silent right now around the NFL, right? Like, what are we talking about? There's nothing going on right now.
Yeah,
there's nobody in the building, right?
We're talking about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so it's interesting, but married with children, said Larry.
And I just cannot wrap my head around. July 20th is
still
early
depends
enough.
on the relationship. I wouldn't want it, and coaches would hate it.
Is it really that much of a pain in the ass to show up for a week for mandatories?
Well,
and then get another 6-week break to catch your breath for the marathon to come, as opposed to starting that marathon in June and you're just in it until what you want is to be until February.
Yeah, ideally.
Yeah. No,
NFLPA,
it blew my mind.
The crazy, that's what I thought too. I thought, is this coming from the NFL for some reason?
I didn't see the press release. It was told to me, and I was like,
why would the Players Association possibly want this? They negotiated all this safety stuff.
Negotiate a second bye, guys. That's what you negotiate.
Which is coming,
18.
With 18, which I think is coming sooner than we even expected, to be honest, Case. Yeah. Here's my question about that, because I heard Ken Carman talking about this the other day, and I wanted to get video of it for the React, so I texted him, and I was like, hey, do you guys video your shows, all the time, or do you just, he said, no, we just put out clips. And he said, why? What do you want? And I was like, I was just going to show the clip when you guys were talking about this. And he was like, oh, so he was very cool about it. He was like, thanks for including us and super nice. Ken's like the nicest dude in the freaking world.
Yeah.
Anyways.
He's a real one.
But they were talking about the 18 games. And at what point do too many games water down the product and you devalue, like, what makes the NFL gold is that every game matters so much. Yeah. So I don't think 18 does it, but if you try any more, you risk, like, at what point, if you're a team and you're up a couple games in your division, do you sit your quarterback on a Thursday night game, early rest, and all of a sudden that sort of looks
situation.
Sort of looks like load management a little bit. That's when that feels like the tipping point, and you don't want to go that far.
Yeah, we only run into that now for the last game of the season in certain instances, which we saw this last year. But even
exactly. But that would happen in no matter how many games you have.
14 games or 16 games and now 17. That's always been the case. So I don't think that changes at 18. But yeah, you're right. If you got a team running away and they're 4 games up in their division with 2 to go, or like you said, if it's a Thursday night game and there's like a month of the season left, they're not going to get caught. Then why would you? But people, no, it's legitimate. It's a legitimate question to ask yourself. Like, well, at what point does that tip the scale? And all of a sudden you have too many games and you can't maintain competitive balance throughout a season.
Yeah. Now the product suffers, and all it takes is somebody to do it successfully, and then it catches on, and then now you're in serious trouble, and your whole shtick is not gone, because everybody's still always going to love the NFL, but the main part of what makes the NFL so good is that every game, no matter how bad your opponent or not, is good competition for the most part. Even when you play bad teams, it's still a good game every week. Like, you're going to get, they get paid too. They're elite athletes too. They're the best players in the world too. Any team can beat anybody any Sunday, and every single game matters. So that combination is what makes the NFL so intriguing.
It is. But at what point does, like, you already have the number one product?
Yeah.
Keep trying to tinker and improve that product to what ends? Because you can't be better than number one. So, like,
you can't.
With it, you may at some point you break something that's good.
Yeah.
At some point,
which we've seen them do before on a smaller scale, right? For them, it's not even about being number one. It's cranking out every last dollar.
Yeah. Squeezing the juice out of it. Yeah.
Picking off every leaf on that money tree.
Yep.
So that's what it's all about. Well, this has been another fantastic episode of All Eyes on Cleveland. I appreciate all of your participation. Larry, we wish you well wishes, my brother. Get better soon.
Heal up, buddy.
This will be available in podcast form soon, and up on YouTube to watch back whenever you like. Tell a friend. Hop over to the OBR, youtube.com/Orange and Brown Report. Hit subscribe, hit like. Let's start getting them in here. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Fumble. Thank everybody for participating in the show. Thank you, Big Case Dog, Casey Kinnamon, at Casey_Kinnamon. And keep it locked for some news sometime in the future here. So, big Super Barry Bros Case. Good job tonight, my friend.
It'll be mandatory case next week, just a heads up.
Mandatory case. Yeah. Thank you guys as always. And keep it locked. Wall-to-wall coverage over at the OBR of everything going down with your Cleveland Browns. Keep coming back. For Casey, my name is Brad Ward. This has been another edition of All Eyes on Cleveland. We are out.